Magic the Gathering is a game full of giant monsters and terrifying beasties. If you wanted, you could dedicate an entire deck to summoning some of the largest creatures found in the multiverse. Truly, there seems to be no limit on how large some of these behemoths can get. Though soon, we could be pushing the size restraints of creatures far past their natural breaking point, as we head to the plane of Ikoria, the Lair of Behemoths. This world is promising to showcase a menagerie of beefy beasts, the size of which would even make acclaimed hunters like Garrick Wildspeaker a little hesitant. But what could we possibly see on Ikoria? And how will the monsters on this plane compare to other giants throughout the multiverse? Let's get into some theory crafting for Ikoria Lair of Behemoths by examining 5 of the largest creatures in Magic the Gathering story. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. As we talk about big creatures, I want to share with you guys something big for your MTG Arena experience. This video is sponsored by a new extension for Arena by MTGA Assistant. It has loads of helpful features so that you can get the most out of your Arena experience. This extension is by etherhub.com, and you can download it for free by visiting mtgaassistant.net or by clicking the link in the description below. But now let's get back to Ikoria and some massive monsters. Even before spoilers dropped for Ikoria Lair of Behemoths, we already knew that this world is going to be insane in its size, scale, and power creep. Of course, that's a little relative, but no doubt the creatures represented in Ikoria will likely be some of the largest throughout the entire multiverse, if only in size and not actual power level. Today we're looking at creatures at the center of myths and legends because of their physical size in the lore, not because someone slapped a bunch of attack boosting enchantments on it. Ikoria will be all natural, so we're going to examine some of nature's most fearsome behemoths in MTG. And just to make sure everything's fair, we're going to be excluding sentient creatures like angels, demons, gods, deities, avatars, things like that. We're going to keep things to the primal world, so to speak. These are natural beasts or animals. But first, how do we know Ikoria will be home to giants? Well, outside of the name literally being the Lair of Behemoths, we know of a few mechanics and gimmicks for the set announced via interviews with Mark Rosewater, which speaks to this big theme. We know one mechanic will introduce the keyword mutate, which will allow us to make some of the largest creatures in the game. We don't know exactly what this mechanic will do in game, but Mark Rosewater specifically mentioned that we would be able to quote unquote make our own monsters. So this mechanic may act as a merging mechanic we've seen in sets like Eldritch Moon, or like Evolve from Return to Ravnica. Either way, we're making our own monsters, so at least for some of us, you know we're going to be making them big. Another mechanic being introduced is the idea of keyword tokens. Going with the theme of mutating, evolving, adapting, and growing, Ikoria takes a lot of influence from the Simic Guild on Ravnica. Keyword tokens can be placed on other creatures to give them specific keywords, like a flying token given to a creature grants them flying for as long as they have that token on them. This of course will be true for other evergreen text keywords like haste, trample, etc., and maybe we'll see some new ones, or even tokens that give more than just +1/+1. I wouldn't put it past Ikoria to add in a +3/+3 token just to go completely nuts into this big behemoth theme. Ikoria will host some big boys, and we already know they've caught the attention of one planeswalker who believes size is everything. The bow-wielding Vivien Reid, a relatively new character to the planeswalker roster, has ended her vendetta against Bolas after his defeat, and seeks out new challenges and spirits for her powerful arc bow. This artifact can absorb the spiritual essence of any animal, and an avatar of that creature and its power can be summoned by Vivien through the bow. So yeah, the bigger the better is her thought process, and you can't find much bigger than those on Ikoria. Still, this is a lot of theory crafting on Ikoria, certainly setting us up for something huge, but how will these beasties compare to some of the largest non-sentient creatures throughout the multiverse? Will Ikoria really be able to fill these humongous shoes? One of the largest creatures in MTG comes from the broken plane of Alara, a Hydra God named Progenesis. At 10 power and 10 toughness, Progenesis is nothing to mess with, but outside of power, its sheer massive size is what makes this creature a true preview of what we'll see on Ikoria. Progenesis is a living legend on Alara, with myths dating back to the Great Sundering, the event which saw Alara split off into neighboring shard planes. It was said that Progenesis was in fact a force of nature who created Alara itself, but one day was bored of its creation and decided to destroy it. Natural catastrophes rocked the plane until the entity was stopped, forced to take the physical form of a massive Hydra, and finally put to rest. The damage, as the myth goes, was already too much for Alara, and the Sundering was the result. Now, these accounts are debated. As we know, the Sundering was likely the result of a rogue pre-mending planeswalker with godlike powers siphoning the mana from the plane, shattering it. Still, this Hydra is so big that it spawned both an Origins and Apocalypse story in one go, a feat seldom claimed. As Bolas reformed Alara to again siphon off its great stores of mana, Progenesis was awakened. If Ikoria is truly the Lair of Behemoths, it's gonna have to match up to the size and strength of a legend like Progenesis. A plane no stranger to massive creatures is one you at first glance probably wouldn't think makes a good home for massive monsters. Ravnica is a plane almost entirely consumed by an advanced civilization. It's known as a city plane for a good reason. There's almost no wild or natural territories left, although you do have guilds like the Gruul and Selesnya who watch over what little nature remains. But that brings up a great question. If there are giant beasts on Ravnica, where are they? They can't be stomping around the streets causing untold destruction every day. The logistics alone would be mind-boggling. Ravnica's giant, Ikoria-level creatures are found the only place they have free range: underground. They are the famous and massive worms of Ravnica. Worms have been used mainly by the most naturally inclined guilds in the various feuds of the plane. The Selesnya can control some of the largest species on the plane, those like the Siege and Armada worms, along with the massive Autothron worm, while the Gruul have their own building-smashing Runation worms. But all those pale in comparison to the largest known creature on the whole of Ravnica, one no guild could ever tame: the World Spine Worm. This gargantuan beast towers over the largest spires of Ravnica, capable of wiping out entire districts of the city in one destructive effort. It's said that the largest among them can span the whole of the city around its coil. Certainly a world ender if we've ever seen one. It's creatures like the World Spine Worm that Ikoria will have to match or surpass to truly claim the mantle of Lair of Behemoths. In MTG, creatures can get really big, but sometimes it's not always about the power printed on the card alone. Sometimes a creature is as big as the actions they take, and the physical size they can get. In no case is that more true than in Krakens and Leviathans. When talking about huge beasts, these typically aquatic animals certainly are some of the first that come to mind, as the various seas throughout the multiverse always allow them to grow to unimaginable sizes. These creatures are the stuff myths and legends are made of. You can really find Krakens and Leviathans on any plane that has water big enough to hold them, and each time they appear, they typically represent the power of the sea itself. On Theros, Arexmethus is a giant kraken who was mistaken for an island. That's right, it was so large that people discovered, landed on, and then settled on its back, building up an entire city and civilization over generations with none the wiser. Of course, that would end up being a disastrous decision as Arexmethus one day awoke and just dove beneath the waves, destroying the city in a flash. Yeah, not smart. But one of the most famous sea monsters in MTG, which actually is typed as an octopus, is Lordose the Tidemaker. A giant at home in the oceans of Zendikar, Lordose is the staple fisherman or sailor sea tale topic. If a ship went down or its crew went missing, Lordose was the one to blame. But its size and ferocity isn't what makes Lordose famous. This octopus actually stood mano a mano against an Eldrazi Titan. During the battle for Zendikar, Kiora, a planeswalking native of Zendikar, was on a mission to round up the biggest beasts of the oceans to fight the Eldrazi Titans who were literally devouring the plane. Lordose was her champion, leading the assault, even rode the monster into battle, which I'm sure was an incredibly badass sight. Upon seeing the massive titan Kozilek, both were pulled into battle, challenging the sheer size of their opponent. The battle was titanic, though the might of an Eldrazi Titan proved too much for Lordose. Still, it speaks to what the monsters in Ikoria need to achieve in order to compete with those we've seen on other planes. If I don't see a kraken or turtle with an entire city on its back in Ikoria, then I'll be very disappointed. Ikoria Lair of Behemoths is set to star the planeswalker Vivien Reid, which is no surprise as she is an acclaimed monster hunter. Rather than hunting and killing prized beasts, Vivien searches the multiverse for the strongest creatures in order to add them to her arc bow. This weapon houses the spirits of these animals, which Vivien then uses in the defense of the natural order on planes. Vivien being on Ikoria is a good sign that we'll see some big boys. And we know this because she already traveled to a plane specifically to collect the spirits of huge monsters. Ixalan, hunting the largest, most ferocious, and badass creatures in the entire multiverse, dinosaurs. Yes, the dinosaurs on Ixalan are so well known that even Vivien Reid heard tales of their size and power. While dinosaurs and other large reptilian beasts of similar anatomy exist on other planes, none have seen them grow in such creative ways as on Ixalan. Highlighting how massive the dinos on Ixalan can get, we saw a cycle of legendary creatures show up in the block. Getting a name and myth made about a creature requires that creature to be awe-inspiring, and these legendary dinosaurs went on to represent the major religion of the sun-worshipping humans of Ixalan. Whether representing the endless hunger of nature or the quickness and ferocity of storms, these elder dinosaurs went on to shape the beliefs of an entire people. As for their physical size, well, in the lore Jason Vraska witnessed as Zetalpa, the primal dawn, flew overhead. They said its wings cast the whole of the Golden City in shadow. Day became night in the beating of its wings. But these were just the tips of the iceberg on Ixalan. Githos, Sun's avatar, became the prime symbol of the threefold sun religion, the harbinger of the true deity, the force of nature, Zakama, primal calamity, a three-headed gigantic dinosaur that towers over ancient forests and man-made cities alike. I'm not sure any creature can get more badass than a three-headed T-Rex, but Ikoria Lair of Behemoths is welcome to try. And at the end of our list, how could we examine in a discussion of the largest creatures in MTG without mentioning actual titans? Yes, I know this list is meant only to break down large non-sentient creatures, meaning beasts or animals. The Eldrazi Titans sit in a strange and little understood gray area where they're almost forces of nature, beings from the blind eternities which consume planes, acting out of a biological need to feed without much other guidance, yet while also having the capability of deep, connected thought. We know this because Jace literally had a conversation with Emrakul, while Emrakul took the shape of an angel in his mind. Was he being driven mad by Emrakul's presence? Most likely, but there's still a great possibility that the Eldrazi are much more intelligent than we expect. So if the Eldrazi Titans are no doubt the largest creatures in the multiverse, with their physical bodies being as large as entire planes and even their avatars, the creatures we see on their cards, standing much taller than any other structures man-made or otherwise, let's say for the sake of argument that the Titans themselves are indeed sentient and shouldn't be classified as beasts. That means we'll shift and examine their spawn, which act much more like low-thinking swarms of insects who answer to a queen rather than their more sentient broodmothers. Still, even as spawns, these creatures grow to terrifying sizes. Indeed, some of the largest creatures both in size and card power are nothing more than the buddings of Eldrazi Titans. These monstrosities brought to heal the planes of both Zendikar, twice, and Innistrad, while destroying countless other worlds before them. Creatures like the Void Winnower carve out entire cave structures big enough to house a city, while It That Betrays has one of the largest stat lines in all of MTG and towers over the fields of the dead it corrupts to its campaign. Forests can't stand against their might, as Artisan of Kozilek and Ulamog's Crusher are seen trampling mighty trees that have grown for centuries. But the biggest boon of these spawn has to come from an aura and not an actual creature, Eldrazi Conscription, which gives a creature plus 10 power and plus 10 toughness. Ikoria says it will have the highest single stat buffing aura in the game, which means it will have to do better than the Eldrazi to claim that title. A lot of information has come out concerning Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. We know we have some big things coming for us. How will it measure up against the giant monsters of MTG's past? And will they really be the biggest in the game's history? That's still up for debate, but I hope you enjoyed a little preview of what Ikoria is likely bringing back to our tables when the set's fully released. Let me know what you guys are most excited for with Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. If you're a Timmy, let me know what you think about the big creatures in this list, and let me know what your favorite big card to slam down during a game is. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to support the channel by leaving it a like, subscribing, and taking that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!